Hello guys, how are you? My name is Saheeb. I hope you will support this small channel by subscribing. I hope you guys will. Am I the only one that didn't know how quickly life can change? This is why you need to hear the unsettling tale of Mike Williams. The icy December air hung heavy over Lake Seminole. The mist rose from the water, creating an ethereal blanket that shrouded the lake in mystery. The cold was biting, seeping through layers of clothing and chilling to the bone. It was the kind of morning that made you want to stay in bed, wrapped in the warmth of blankets. But for Mike Williams, it was a perfect day for duck hunting. Dawn was breaking, painting the sky in hues of pink and orange. The first light of day cast a serene glow over the landscape, transforming the ordinary into the extraordinary. The colors reflected off the water, creating a mesmerizing display that was both beautiful and fleeting. It was a moment of peace, a brief respite before the day began in earnest. It was a day like any other, or so it seemed. The world was waking up, the routine of daily life beginning to unfold. Birds chirped, the wind rustled through the trees, and the lake remained calm and undisturbed. But beneath the surface, something was brewing, something that would change everything. But for the Williams family, life was about to take a sinister turn. The tranquility of the morning was deceptive, masking the storm that was about to break. The events that would unfold were unimaginable, a nightmare that no one could have foreseen. Mike Williams, an avid hunter, kissed his wife Denise goodbye and headed out for a solo duck hunting trip. He was excited, looking forward to the solitude and the thrill of the hunt. He had done this countless times before, and it was a routine he cherished. Denise watched him go, a smile on her face, unaware that this would be the last time she would see him. He promised to be back by lunchtime, but as the hours ticked by, an unsettling silence descended upon their home. The clock seemed to tick louder, each passing minute amplifying the silence. Denise tried to busy herself with chores, but her mind kept drifting back to Mike. Where was he? Why hadn't he called? Mike was a creature of habit, always punctual, always reliable. He had never been late before, and this deviation from his routine was alarming. Denise's worry grew with each passing hour, the silence becoming oppressive, almost suffocating. When he didn't show up, a knot of worry twisted in Denise's stomach. She tried to rationalize it, telling herself that maybe he had lost track of time or that his phone had died. But deep down, she knew something was wrong. The feeling of dread was growing, an ominous presence that she couldn't shake. She tried his cell phone, but it went straight to voicemail. Each unanswered call heightened her anxiety, the silence on the other end of the line a stark contrast to the usual warmth of his voice. She left messages, her voice growing more frantic with each one, but there was no response. Panic began to set in. Denise's mind raced with possibilities, each one more terrifying than the last. What if he was hurt? What if he was lost? The scenarios played out in her mind, each one more horrifying than the last. She felt helpless, the fear gripping her heart like a vice. Something was wrong, terribly wrong. The feeling was undeniable, a gut instinct that she couldn't ignore. She knew Mike, knew his habits, and this was completely out of character. The fear was now a tangible thing, a shadow that loomed over her, refusing to be ignored. She contacted the authorities, her voice trembling as she reported her husband missing. The words felt surreal, like something out of a bad dream. She provided all the details she could, her mind racing as she tried to remember every little thing that might help. The authorities assured her they would start a search immediately, but the wait was agonizing. The news of Mike's disappearance spread through their small, tight-knit community like wildfire. In a place where everyone knew everyone, the shock was palpable. People gathered in small groups, whispering, speculating, their faces etched with concern and disbelief. How could this happen? Where could he be? Friends and neighbors gathered, their faces etched with concern and disbelief. They offered their support, their help, but there was little they could do. The sense of helplessness was overwhelming, a shared burden that weighed heavily on everyone. How could a man just vanish into thin air? It was a question that haunted everyone. Mike was experienced, careful, and knew the area well. The idea that he could simply disappear was unfathomable, a mystery that defied explanation. The lake, vast and unforgiving, held its secrets close. The water, usually so inviting, now seemed menacing, a dark abyss that could swallow a man whole. The search team scoured the area, their efforts hampered by the cold and the mist, but there was no sign of Mike. As darkness fell, casting long shadows over the water, a sense of dread settled in. The day had passed with no news, no clues, and the hope that had buoyed them in the morning was now fading. The lake, once a place of beauty and tranquility, was now a source of fear and uncertainty. The search parties returned empty-handed, their hopes dwindling with each passing hour. The exhaustion was evident on their faces, the cold and the fear taking their toll. They had done everything they could, but the lake had given up none of its secrets. Mike Williams was gone, leaving behind a void that threatened to swallow those who loved him most. Denise was inconsolable, her grief a raw, aching wound. Friends and family rallied around her, offering their support, but the loss was a heavy burden, one that would take a long time to heal. The community, once so vibrant and close-knit, was now overshadowed by the mystery of Mike's disappearance, a chilling reminder of how quickly life can change. Mike and Denise Williams were the epitome of a perfect couple. They were the kind of couple that others looked up to, the ones who seemed to have it all figured out. Their smiles were genuine, their laughter infectious, and their love for each other palpable. Friends and family often remarked on how lucky they were to have found each other. They had it all: a beautiful baby girl, a loving marriage, and a comfortable life in Tallahassee, Florida. Their home was nestled in a picturesque neighborhood, where the lawns were always green and the streets were lined with trees. It was the kind of place where neighbors waved hello and children played outside until the streetlights came on. Their daughter, a bundle of joy, brought even more happiness into their lives. Mike was a successful real estate appraiser, while Denise worked as an insurance agent. Both were well respected in their professions, known for their dedication and hard work. Mike's keen eye for detail and Denise's knack for understanding people's needs made them stand out in their respective fields. They were the kind of people who seemed to have found the perfect balance between work and home life. They were living the American dream, or so it seemed. To the outside world, they were the perfect family. Their social media profiles were filled with pictures of family vacations, birthday parties, and holiday celebrations. They attended community events, volunteered at local charities, and were always there to lend a helping hand to friends in need. But behind the carefully curated images and the smiles, there was a different story unfolding. Behind the facade of their idyllic life, however, lurked a secret that, if revealed, had the potential to destroy everything they had built. It was a secret that Denise carried with her every day, a burden that weighed heavily on her heart. She had become adept at hiding her true feelings, putting on a brave face for the world to see. But the cracks were beginning to show. Denise had been having an affair with Brian Winchester, Mike's best friend since childhood. It started innocently enough: a shared laugh, a lingering glance, a touch that lasted a moment too long, but soon it grew into something more, something that neither of them could control. They found themselves drawn to each other, unable to resist the pull of their forbidden attraction. Brian, also married, was a financial advisor who shared Mike's passion for hunting and fishing. The two men had been inseparable since they were kids, their bond forged through years of shared experiences and mutual respect. Brian's wife, Kathy, was unaware of the affair, believing that her husband was as devoted to their marriage as she was. The betrayal ran deep, affecting not just the two couples, but their entire circle of friends. The two couples were close, often spending weekends together, oblivious to the betrayal festering beneath the surface. They went on double dates, hosted barbecues, and took family vacations together. Their children played together, their lives intertwined in ways that made the affair even more complicated. Denise and Brian had to navigate their illicit relationship carefully, always aware of the risk of being discovered. The affair was a dangerous game, fueled by passion and deceit. Every stolen moment, every secret rendezvous, added to the thrill and the danger. They knew they were playing with fire, but the intensity of their feelings made it impossible to stop. The guilt gnawed at Denise, but she couldn't bring herself to end the affair. She was caught in a whirlwind of emotions, torn between her love for Mike and her desire for Brian. Denise, consumed by guilt and torn between two men, found herself trapped in a web of her own making. She loved Mike, but her feelings for Brian were undeniable. She tried to convince herself that she could keep the two parts of her life separate, that she could continue the affair without it affecting her marriage. But the strain was beginning to take its toll. She was constantly on edge, afraid that her secret would be discovered. Little did she know that her actions would have devastating consequences, setting in motion a chain of events that would shatter their seemingly perfect world. The truth had a way of coming out, no matter how carefully it was hidden. And when it did, the fallout would be more than anyone could have anticipated. The perfect life that Mike and Denise had worked so hard to build was about to come crashing down, leaving nothing but heartbreak and betrayal in its wake.